in a second, but we like the Periscope people more anyway, so we'll get it started. Welcome to
We
the
in business.
Exactly. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show Monday edition, November 4th. A fantastic little Monday, 6-game slate, something manageable. That gives Laffy and I here a couple extra minutes to talk about whatever comes up as we move through this.
This will go poorly.
Yeah, we had an eventful NFL day. I got brutally slaughtered in NBA. Worst day of the year so far. So let's put that one behind us. But first and foremost, Laffy, what's up?
Oh, not much, man. I had a good NFL day. Sucks though. I got knocked out of the King of the Beach qualifier, the 10K ticket, because Seattle and Tampa went to overtime. I was the only one with Jameis, right? I was in first place, and then the long reception, the Metcalf knocked me out. They missed that field goal. The Metcalf was in overtime, but it's a tie game. They missed the field goal, and I'm like, oh, dude, I'm the only one with Jameis and Godwin. Like, I have a chance. I had
Melvin started on Godwin.
Yeah, I had Lockett too, and I didn't have Winston, but everyone around me had Winston. So if Tampa got the ball going into overtime, it would have been a spot for me to hold it, but didn't happen. That said, I had a good NFL day, and
likewise,
turned nice. There was a solo showdown winner, which was insane. I play like 2 lineups in that because I do Awesemo Radio
right
on Sunday from 7 to 9. So I'll make one like during the commercial break.
You just want a little vested interest.
Yeah, came in 25th, turned 10 into 350.
That'll work.
It'll work. But at the same time, amazing that this guy in first place had what's his name? Oh, Nick Boyle, and that was how he got the win.
Well, you didn't have Nick Boyle?
I didn't have Nick Boyle. That was dude. I'll tell you what though, Lamar Jackson's filthy, and that was an awesome game.
Didn't expect that out of him.
It's not like they exposed New England, especially because they're such a different type of offense. The Ravens are, but you could see how frustrated the Patriots were. Like, wait, we're not as good as our record suggested. They're good, of course they're good, but they hadn't played anybody yet, and that was pretty evident yesterday, man.
Yeah, I figured that stopping Lamar from doing that would have been the easiest thing for the Patriots to do. Not so fast, my friends.
No, their run D is not very good.
No. Well, I just assume that Belichick will be successful doing one thing.
Right. And he did take, like, for the most part, he took Marcus Brown outside of that first drive and Mark Andrews pretty much out of the game. But
that seems like it's probably not that difficult to do.
Who?
That seems like it's not that difficult to do, to take Brown and Mark Andrews out of a game. I'm sure Bill didn't lose a lot of sleep for those two guys.
No, probably not. But he had trouble. He had trouble taking Mark Ingram out, and it was a good game. But no, a good overall day. Nothing huge, but a win's a win, right?
Absolutely.
I played like 1 or 2 NBA lineups. I just tossed one in again right before my show. And that ended pretty poorly. So, but I didn't play like any volume for NBA because I didn't even look at the slate on Sundays. I generally can't.
I played normal volume and got slaughtered. First and foremost.
Why? What was it?
Well, I have lineup study pulled up right now. This is going to be DraftKings, but I could speak to my own self. The chalk play in the excellent 8s yesterday was Frank Ntilikina, 56% owned. I had
he's terrible.
Wait, we're gonna get there. Alex had 79%. Adam 37%. I was in the Alex camp. He went for 11 DraftKings points. So yeah, that didn't go well. I tweeted out before the game started, like, raise your hand if you're rostering Frank Ntilikina. I think all of us should just line up and get those hands lopped off. Didn't go well here.
Yeah, like you stole something in the Middle East.
Yeah. It got worse from there. I played a ton of Dwight Powell on FanDuel. Maxey gets ruled out after lock. I'm thinking, I am the smartest man alive. He gets 26, 27 minutes. One of those two goes for 15. So I had a large amount there. Alex, 90% Dwight Powell. Adam, 69%. Once again, not quite going to get you there. It was just bad. Kendrick Nunn, Bagel, had a ton.
And they were up, dude. They were up 46-14 after one quarter.
It was all Jimmy Butler.
Crazy, man. Crazy.
Russ, terrible. Just lots of performances out there that were really, really, really rough. 12 points from Bobby Portis getting the start for the Knicks.
Luka had a monster game.
He certainly did. 73.5, highest scoring player on DraftKings yesterday. Beat out Braun by 10. Beat out Donovan Mitchell, who was second, by almost 20.
Amazing.
Adam, here we go. 41% owned Luka Doncic. Alex, 6.7%. Adam, suckling on the tee to Luka, 69.3%. Went for it. Ultimately didn't matter. We had 59 people in the Excellent Eights max enter that contest, 150 entries. How many do you think profited?
I'll say 3.
You would be incorrect, but it's 4. It's always fun when Papa Gates profits and Chipotle Addict doesn't. No comment.
Yeah, right. That's insane. But you know what? And I did follow along with all the games. Kind of have to, right?
Yeah.
Even if I didn't play much NBA because I couldn't research it.
Yeah.
But in terms of following along with it, some of these performances were downright mind-boggling. Let me throw one more thing at you, though.
Hit me.
DeJounte Murray, I tweeted this earlier. DeJounte Murray, sorry.
Yeah, there's a J in there, brother.
Yes, there is. He's averaging the 170th most minutes this year in the NBA. 170th. He's 33rd in fantasy scoring. Yesterday he plays 24 minutes, right? He's averaging 23 minutes per game. 24 minutes, 18 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and the block. I'm telling you, man, we all know this, right? Increased minutes equal decreased efficiency. Like that's just the way it is, right?
Yeah.
But DeJounte Murray, if he starts playing 30 plus minutes per game, dude, this guy might be a 9K player. Like he has a 26% usage rate, 33% assist rate. Here's the craziest part. You will appreciate this. Not only is 4% rebound rate, 3% block rate, both are great. 19% total rebound rate and a 34% defensive rebound rate for DeJounte Murray.
Wow. That's massive. I have the data in front of you. For the season of anyone that's played 100 minutes, he is 4th in FanDuel points per minute, 1.6, behind Towns,
amazing,
Giannis, Kawhi.
Amazing.
Also behind Taco Fall, but that's in 4 minutes.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing. Yeah, you got to take out guys that aren't playing.
Oh, yeah. I don't think that Theo Pinson's going to keep up the 4.6 fantasy points per minute pace that he's got going. six FanDuel points in a minute. I don't think Ryan Brokoff's going to keep doing it. John Henson.
No. 1.6 fantasy points per minute. He's been spectacular, man. He has been that good. And I think Adam mentioned this on one of the deeper dives. Like, he was out all of last year with that ACL, right? Happened in the preseason. And if you remember the season before that, DeJounte Murray wasn't bad. But you forgot how good of a rebounder he was as a guard. I
mean, they were touting him last year to be like the guy before he got hurt. Like that, they thought that he was taking this leap a year ago, and they just didn't get.
He might be special.
Yeah, and that contract that he signed might end up being a bargain. Just to hit on
contract.
They just gave him the extension for low 60s, maybe.
Okay. And this is what? This is his 3rd season. 4th if you include last year's lost one. But yeah, the kid's young, man. He's young. He's 23 years old.
He just signed 4 for 63. He's 23 years old.
And given today's contracts, that's not even a lot.
No, 14 and change next year, and then 15, 16, 17, 4 years from now, in his age 27 season.
Yeah, he's been fun, man.
Yeah, not too shabby. Top lineup in this contest went to the Warren 137. This man played 5 lineups. You ready for this?
Let's hear it,
I
baby.
assume that this data is correct. He played 5 lineups. One of them was unique. The other 4 were the same.
Oh,
he finished 1st, and all 4 of them in 4th place.
Wow. How much did first place pay out?
$50K.
Whew.
So he took 1st, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th, with all 4 of those final lineups being the exact same lineup. You don't see that every day.
Yeah, that's pretty wild, dude.
Let's see what the difference was between them. So Luka, Mitchell, Braun, Harry Barnes, Zinger, Duncan Robinson going for 39 at 3,300 will do it. Marcus Morris, Dwayne Dedmon. That is the winning lineup. The 4 lineup train flips Porzingis and Morris into Kevin Love and Jordan Clarkson.
Amazing. You want to hear what the perfect lineup was on DraftKings yesterday?
I would love to.
Okay. This isn't someone that played it, but this is what the perfect lineup would have been.
Okay.
Luka Doncic, 73.5. Duncan Robinson, 39. Marcus Morris, 42. Mind you, Robinson was 3,300. Morris is 49. Gets better. Bielitsa, 4K, 31.5 fantasy points. Myers Leonard, 3,700, 35.5 fantasy points. Donovan Mitchell goes for 55. LeBron James goes for 62.25, and Jimmy Butler goes for 50.75 at 8,200. So 389.5 total points, $49,800 cap. So only $200 below it. But you want to talk about a flat out stars and scrubs lineup? You've got an 8,200, a 93, a 72, and a 92. And then a 49, a 4K, a 37, and a 33. That's the perfect lineup.
Good luck getting to that one.
Yeah, right.
Second.
Well, let me ask you, how many of those guys, like, were you on Morris? I'm assuming Duncan Robinson wasn't on your short list, but
no.
Like, were you on any of those cheap guys?
Morris, nothing crazy. Duncan Robinson, obviously not. Who else? I was like a very big advocate against Bielitsa, so that didn't go well. But like I said, nothing went well for me. Who else? Who are the other, like, the cheap guys?
Well, I didn't hear who you said. So there was Duncan Robinson, Marcus Morris, Nemanja Bjelica, and Myers Leonard.
I did not have a share of any of those guys. So
wow,
probably not going to get anywhere near that perfect lineup.
I hear you. By the way, Dave in our Slack chat just said, okay, here it is. National Basketball Association and DraftKings today announced a multi-year partnership that will make DraftKings an authorized sports betting operator of the league. Beginning with the current 2019-2020 season, DraftKings will have access to official NBA betting data and league marks across its mobile platform and in sports books throughout the United States.
It was inevitable.
Right. I mean, this was something we saw coming, but I'm assuming that this is legit. Yeah, it should be.
We're getting people talking in chat about Blake. Blake Griffin is listed as out on the NBA injury report right now. So just putting that out there to everybody. Official report from 8:30 last night. Blake Griffin listed as out. Done.
Why? What were they saying that they thought he might be playing?
Yeah. I guess people talked about it, but he's out on the NBA.
I have him as officially out as well.
Yep.
Which means another 2020 game from Andre. You know, I was ahead of my time.
I have him projected for 22 and 18 today, I think.
Like 3 years ago, I said Andre Drummond's going to have 20 games of 20 rebounds and 20 points. Mm-hmm. And I think that year he had a few less than that. But this year he might have 40. I mean, he won't. But Andre Drummond, someone didn't like that I used the word dominant on a tweet. They're like, he's not really dominant. How many playoff games have they won?
Oh my God.
What I mean is he is as dominant a rebounder and as dominant around the rim as you will ever find in a player in today's basketball.
Right. You can't say anything anymore.
And to be fair, he wasn't like, it was more of just a conversation.
Oh, okay. Well, that's, you said Twitter, so I just assumed it was the absolute worst.
Well, and people just look for things. The worst thing about Twitter is people are experts on everything because they'll do a cursory Google search. And literally it makes you an expert on everything until you're not. And it can be pretty frustrating. We're all guilty of it.
Yeah, guys, best I can do here. Pistons. Injury report from last night at 8:30. Blake Griffin, current status, out. That's it. It's the only place that I go to look for it. I don't look for it in DraftKings player write-ups or anything like that. Straight to the source.
What are the
doesn't mean that they can't just come out at 1 o'clock and be like, now he's playing, but that is not the case right now.
The other big injuries on this slate in that same game, Derrick Rose.
Yeah.
He was my NBA survey contrarian play the other day. And the reason for that is D Rose, honestly, even if you're playing 26 minutes, the volume's insane, but he only played 25 in that game, 21 before that. He's already ruled out. And that means that this team is going to be relying on the likes of Andre Drummond and Luke Kennard. I think Reggie Jackson is also out. He's out for at least 4 weeks.
Markieff Morris, Bruce Brown. This is going to be a really shitty team to roster in abundance.
Well, actually, you know what? Not trying to do your job, but that's the first game on the slate that we're going to talk about anyway.
It is. We got a couple things that I want to hit on first, and then we'll get into
them, baby.
So let's do this. First things first. Guys, hit the like button. Be super duper helpful for us. We really appreciate it. Really helps this channel continue to grow. We've got some free content going today. Boom bust probabilities from Alex will be free from the NBA side. NFL Showdown rankings also free, and NHL rankings free as well. But the biggest story for this show, our sponsor, Yahoo Sports. They are the presenting sponsor of this show, of the Deeper Dive, of the Early Bird podcast. And if you want to go ahead and check out what Yahoo has to offer, I'm dropping Emacs Cash Building Blocks article into chat right now. You can check that out. Check out the information at the top of the article. You can click the link, sign up at Yahoo, use the promo code AWESEMO, get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points. It's as good as cash. Their main contests they run are called the Baller. They're running the 25K Baller for the NBA. Next week is the 250K Baller for, was that week 10 in the NFL? Yeah. Week 10 in the NFL. So go check out Yahoo. Check out Emacs article. He puts that Cash Building Blocks article every day. What else? Took a look at lineup study. Use the promo code NBA Strategy. Sign up at awesemo.com. Use that promo code, one big word. You can get 50% off your first month. Any monthly package you choose, whether it includes Fantasy Cruncher or not, all you have to do is use that promo code to get 50% off your first month of our services. We've got all of it. So, first game up, as you mentioned, the Washington Wizards and the Detroit Pistons, 111.5 implied total for said Pistons. Wizards, slight favorites, 1.5 point at home. Just craziness. But it tells you a little bit about how healthy the Pistons are right now. Do we have ownership yet? We do. Shout out to Tom for getting that out. Let's grab that and then get started. But let's just start on the Wizards side first, because I know we're going to have a lot to talk about for the Pistons. Bradley Beal, 9,600 on FanDuel, 9,400 on DK. He's 17.2 on Fantasy Draft, $49 on Yahoo. How do you feel about Beal here against the shorthanded Pistons?
So the big thing is, like, whenever I start looking at a slate, like just for a show, I try and dig a little bit deeper than just like throwing the projections in, because I want to see if there's something I'm missing. And you want to get like you want to zoom out, get that kind of 30,000 foot view on the slate. And the guys that we have are Giannis Antetokounmpo, James Harden, without Russell Westbrook, right? We expect him to sit. I think he already is sitting, right? They expect him to.
Yes, Russ is out.
Yeah. Andre Drummond. Sorry, I'll use DraftKings price it. Giannis at 11.3, Harden at 10.8, Drummond at 10.4. Karl Anthony Towns and Embiid are suspended, which is crazy because Embiid against Phoenix would have been an absolute smash spot. Russell Westbrook's out, but then you have Kyrie Irving. Then you get to Brad Beal against, you have Kyrie Irving against New Orleans, Brad Beal against Detroit, Damian Lillard against Golden State. And I don't know if D'Angelo Russell is going to play, but and Ben Simmons without Embiid against Phoenix. Point is, Bradley Beal in a vacuum without looking at anything else sure looks like a very appealing play. The problem I have with getting the Bradley Beal in a spot like this is he just doesn't offer. And I know he had that monster game against Houston where 317 total points were scored. That's not par for the course. No. So does he have a high ceiling? Yeah, he does. But how often is he hitting that when, last game he played 28 minutes, had 0 rebounds and 1 assist? Just with so many pricey guys on this slate, I think it's going to be more difficult for me to get to Beal than it is for other players in a similar price range. I think honestly, I'd probably rather get to a comparably priced Kyrie Irving over Bradley Beal.
Ooh, you went the wrong direction. I would rather get to the comparably priced Damian Lillard, but of everybody from 8K or above on DraftKings, I would rather have everyone except for Kyrie, oddly enough. I'm not on Beal tonight. Not that, again, he's Bradley Beal. This is a good spot. I just think other players are more efficient for their price tags than Beal. It's not an indictment on Beal.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah,
right.
100% on the same page about this. With Kyrie Irving, I just find it really interesting that as a member of the Nets, we've just been seeing him play a different style of basketball. Of course, he is going to be a very high usage player. On the season, he's averaging 16.2 drives per game. I mentioned that because he clearly isn't just some, 3-point shooter that pulls up behind the arc every time. No, he's going to do a lot. And I know we'll get to this game, but to draw the comparison between him and Beal, potential assists for Irving this year is 13. So 13 per game, not bad at all.
No.
And, you're not going to see him rack up massive assists every game, but he's been presenting legitimate triple-double upside every night. And he's averaging 2 more potential assists per game than he is last year. Of course, his usage is through the roof. So could you make the argument that historically his peripherals haven't been great either? Yeah, you could, but this year they've been a whole lot better. He's averaging almost 8 assists and 7 rebounds per game on 30 plus points. So
he's good. Some other things in Washington that I'm happy to get to, though. We've got Ish Smith coming in a little chalky on FanDuel, 4,500. I don't disagree with that price tag at all. He's someone that I have some interest in. Thomas Bryant is not going to get any ownership. I think he's viable. I'm not a big Rui guy. I don't get the sense that I'll be there with anything. And then it really depends on how many minutes you expect Troy Brown to play today. I've got him in for 24. He's 3,700 on FanDuel, 3,600 on DK, 6,800 on Fantasy Draft. I like him as a potential pay down option at 3,700 on FanDuel. I don't want anything crazy. He's not picking up any ownership, but he's just one of those guys that has a price tag in that range that is at least decent, I guess, especially for the Wizards.
Yeah, I don't, wing players I'm hesitant to get to when their minutes are so low because generally their per minute production isn't great either. Brown's only played a couple games this year, right?
Right.
Yeah, I think 2 games. Yeah. And he's been right around a fantasy point per minute. So the production hasn't been bad. I think we'll probably get better value though.
Agreed.
We're going to have a good amount of injuries. So that's kind of tough for me. You mentioned Thomas Bryant. He's been outstanding, man. I love what I've seen from Bryant. We saw last year that this guy had real potential, especially from a fantasy standpoint. At that price, though, it's another spot where I probably don't see myself getting to him. And he's going to have to contend for rebounds a lot more than most matchups against Andre Drummond.
Yeah, I don't mind Bryant. I just like 5 other guys at center. He just gets
for sure
pinched out. Really, the only guy that I'll be getting from the Wizards with any sort of real volume will be Ish. I like that $4,500 tag as an option on FanDuel. One of the easier guys to get to if you want to pay down. Only guys below him: George Hill, Napier, Tyus Jones, Austin Rivers. Those are the guys that I think have value or are potentially viable. But Ish on a dollar for dollar basis is one of my favorite point guards of the day.
Okay.
And he's getting that ownership on FanDuel as well, 24%.
Yeah. Ish has never been a phenomenal, producer, but against this Detroit team that's just mangled with injuries, given his price point, if he plays 30 minutes, it should be fine. What's he priced at on FanDuel?
He's 4,500 on both sites.
Okay. Yeah. Much more appealing on FanDuel.
Yeah. What's really weird is these Pistons injuries are probably worse for the Wizards. You probably want Reggie Jackson and Derrick Rose and Tim Frazier to be out there because they're all terrible defensively.
Yeah.
Now they're putting on Bruce Brown, Tony Snell getting big minutes. You're getting guys that are functionally better defenders.
What's the spread? 2 points in this game?
I had 1.5 for the Wiz, but something in that neighborhood.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy that with all of those guys injured, they're 1.5 point favorites.
It's almost like Reggie Jackson and Derrick Rose and Tim Frazier aren't that good.
Yeah, tell me about it. But I'm saying like Blake Griffin as well.
Yeah, that one matters.
Just all in all, there isn't a lot there. I think Derrick Rose is a pretty good player. Defensively, he's not great, but your point is well taken there.
He's like the poor man's Lou Williams.
I think that's fair enough. Oh, he doesn't really take threes, but in terms of just being like a pure shoot,
did last year.
Know,
finally, and made him, or did he just like shoot well, or did it regress and everything that I said at the beginning of the year ended up coming true?
Yeah, a little bit of both maybe, but he's attempting less than a 3 per game. He's only attempted 4 threes in 6 games.
Oh, okay, then he is back to not shooting at all.
At all, yeah.
Oh, he shot 18% of his threes last year. Or 18% of his shots last year were from 3. It's 3% this year. So, not that last year he was heaving, but he was heaving relative to like Derrick Rose standards.
He's a poor man's DeMar DeRozan.
That'll work. Which is not a great place to be, even if you're DeMar DeRozan. So, we're not disrespecting D Rose. He was incredible. He's just he's not that guy anymore.
I love D Rose.
He's not that guy anymore.
I was skinny in high school. I still think he can contribute a lot. Maybe not to wins, but for fantasy points, you're going to get some huge games out of Rose. But the problem is the 25, 26 minutes is really capping his ceiling.
All right, we need to get into these Pistons. So, easiest way to start now. Drummond, Kennard, Markieff Morris, Bruce Brown. All double digits in exposure. A couple of those guys into the 30s. Let's start with Drummond, because we're going to have to touch on basically everything for the Pistons. 10-6 on FanDuel, 10-4 DraftKings, $19,000 on Fantasy Draft, and $50 on Yahoo. I think he's very clearly the best play on FanDuel at 10-6, but is there any reason you wouldn't want a ton of Andre Drummond?
Only the price point, that would be it, and that doesn't mean I don't want Andre Drummond. I mean, he's been spectacular. Yeah. And when you look over all of the numbers, something I pointed out a whole lot last year was that, while everyone talked about the points and rebounds, Drummond averaged 1.7 steals and 1.7 blocks per game last year, right? Yeah. Like that's more than 6. That's about 7 fantasy points alone just on blocks and steals on average. Yeah. Well, this year he's averaging 2.6 blocks and 1.7 steals.
Yeah, we were. By the way, we were told in chat earlier today from Dave, since you mentioned him, that he's essentially all he does is rebound. It's like I've got him projected for 20 and 20 with 2 boards or with 4 stocks, but yeah, that dude doesn't do shit.
Yeah, that's crazy, dude. He's averaged 1.5 steals or more in each of the last 5 years. He's averaged over a block per game and more for 5 straight years. 1.5 blocks or more for 3 straight seasons. No, that's just simply not true. Right. Actually, he's been one of the leaders at the center position in steals per game for several years now, and you can see why. He's even attempted a 3-pointer this year. Actually, a couple of them. 5% of Drummond's shots this season are threes, which is funny.
It's more than Derrick Rose.
Yeah, right. Actually is.
I know.
26% usage. 30% rebounding, 15% offensive rebound rate, which just contributes so much to those putbacks alone. 12% assist rate, which actually isn't horrible for him. 6% blocks, 2.3% steals. No, he does a lot, and he's going to continue to do a lot. He is the most efficient rebounder and garbage man around the rim that there is in the league.
Yeah, I'm going to end up with a ton of him. He's very clearly the pay-up center option. He's my second favorite guy behind Harden of anybody that you could pay up for today on DraftKings. I just won a bunch, and we're not stopping there. Let's put Kennard, Markieff Morris, Bruce Brown, if you want to throw Langston Galloway into this bucket or somebody else. Who are your priorities for the Pistons value, guys? Because I have some priorities.
Okay, you do have priorities. Well,
I do.
Let me just first go over this.
Yes.
Derrick Rose is out. We already talked about it. Blake Griffin's out. But Tim Frazier's also doubtful to play.
Right.
So that makes things very interesting. So what are we left with is the question. I guess we can start at the point. I'm going to go ahead and assume that Langston Galloway is our guy. Bruce Brown is not somebody that I expect to ever be a big per minute guy. He's probably going to get the minutes, but I would assume Galloway plays, 30 plus minutes. He's played 26, 23, and 28 over the last 3 games. Derrick Rose is out. Tim Frazier's doubtful. So when you're talking about the depth that they have at point guard, who do you have? Like Kennard's listed as point guard eligible on DraftKings. This guy is not exactly a premier playmaker. I would think that Galloway has every opportunity to kind of wrestle this role away from anybody else, at least for one game.
I think that the point guard is Bruce Brown.
You might be.
He was the starting point guard in the last game.
I know, and he might be the de facto point guard, but I don't know if I'm buying into it. You know what? I guess if he starts there, then you got to go with him.
Yeah, I mean, he came in at the 8-minute mark of the second quarter, played the rest of the second quarter, and then played the start of the third quarter all the way to the 2-minute mark. So he played 17 straight minutes through the middle of the game, and then played all of the fourth quarter.
It's so strange to me that Bruce Brown is going to handle point guard duties. Somebody that, went 5 straight games without a single assist. But you know what? We've seen this with Detroit so often, right? Where like the strangest positions are played by guys that you would never expect. But he played 40 minutes last game. I'm going to have to say that you're probably right here. It pains me to say it because it seems like it's such an odd decision. But in that game, Bruce Brown, I was going to try and see how many potential assists he has, but it's not loading for me. I'm assuming.
Go
ahead. No, good. You're good.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I gave Brown 34 minutes. I gave Galloway 28. Galloway's still in play to me. Galloway getting no ownership, 2% on FanDuel, 7% on DraftKings. That's what I think is appealing. Galloway is at 7% on DK, and we have Bruce Brown at 26. I have them separated by 0.6 of a point. They're the same salary. So I'm more interested in Galloway as a GPP play, but I think that Bruce Brown is about as safe as it gets.
You're probably right.
From a playing time standpoint, like he has to be out there.
Yeah, no, look.
I don't think that he's particularly good.
I think you're right. No, I'm happy to backtrack on that Galloway statement now that I look over some of these numbers. 12 potential assists last game. By the way, Andre Drummond had 11. So, yeah. Like Andre Drummond was definitely involved.
What a one-trick pony.
Exactly. Bruce Brown, again, I don't love it, but I mean, the guy he attempted 20 field goals last game. It seems insane to me, but you're right. That's got to be your guy.
Okay.
I think Galloway's still viable though. Like it wouldn't surprise me if he did handle a lot of ball handling duties and Bruce Brown played off the ball at times too. That wouldn't shock me, but based on what we've seen, I guess I have to go with Bruce Brown.
Okay. Neither one of those guys is the guy that I want the most from this team.
Is it Luke?
We're still not there. Markieff Morris is going to be really problematic for me today. 4,300 on FanDuel, 4K on DraftKings. He's 7,600 on Fantasy Draft and the flat minimum on Yahoo.
He's a perennial disappointment.
I'm going to have a stupid amount of him. I don't know what else to do. I've got him in for 32 minutes. Pretty much every single minute of that is safe unless they really blow it up.
Or he's in foul trouble, which always happens. But you're not wrong about this at all. Like, how are you going to prioritize Detroit when you've got guys like Brown and Galloway and Kennard and Drummond and Markieff Morris, all of them underpriced? Someone asked the question in Slack, like, hey, other than Drummond, no one's above 5K on Detroit. Is this a mispricing? I mean, it probably is to some extent, but these guys normally wouldn't be very expensive had all these injuries not occurred.
No.
How are you prioritizing these guys?
So on DraftKings, it's hard to, I don't know. Are we just talking about the value? Like we're leaving Drummond out of this? I don't really know how to compare Drummond to Bruce Brown.
No, like this. Have you run any preliminary crunches yet?
I have.
Okay. So in order. Like, what are you getting?
Oh, okay. That makes a shit ton of sense. Let me pull it back up. So I ran my crunch for FanDuel. So naturally, I'll get less of Drummond than in comparison because there's only one center instead of two. All right. Well, my crunch isn't even here. I can explain it. Markieff Morris is my priority. Luke Kennard will be second for me on FanDuel. Bruce Brown would be second on DK. Flip-flop those guys on either site. Galloway is last, although if that ownership continues to stay where it is, I like him to get away from Brown. You want to flip-flop those two guys.
Yeah.
Drummond is going to be either first or second in terms of my most exposed center, but he is the only option I'm paying up for. The only other two options at center for me on FanDuel are both dramatic paydown options.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, there you have it. I think we covered this game pretty nicely. Yeah. That's what happens when there's 6 games. We get in trouble.
There's a case to be made that you can get some shares of Tony Snell as well, and that's disgusting to say out loud.
Yeah, that.
But
makes
again,
me
he's going to play
nauseous.
30 minutes, so.
Yeah, I mean, hey, he will.
Yeah,
and he's nothing but a 3-and-D guy.
Yeah,
if he takes 12 shots and hits 6 of them from 3-point range, well, he won't need to do much else.
A lot of cash game plays coming out of the Pistons tonight.
Yeah, I mean, there is some really wild pricing. It seems like DraftKings is usually good at preemptively pricing guys. I must say it doesn't feel like that you'll see when we get to this next game. It certainly doesn't feel like that if we end up having guys that are questionable end up being ruled out.
It's true. I didn't get much Bruce Brown on my FanDuel crunch, 9%, 3% Langston Galloway. I did find this crunch, by the way. It finally loaded. 70% Markieff, 37% Luke Kennard, 29% Andre Drummond, which is a lot when you can only add up to 100 and not 200. I'll probably have like 50% Drum today again.
Okay.
Had 50% on Friday when he went for, well, it didn't matter. It's either 66.8 or 78. I had a ton either way. Can't remember which one was Friday. All right, let's keep it moving. Glad we have a ton of time here to like really dig into this. Brooklyn Nets, New Orleans Pelicans. Nets are 3.5-point favorites at home against the Pels. Start with Kyrie, 9,700 on FanDuel, 9,500 on DK. Big time ownership on FanDuel, 32% at that number. I'm color me skeptical of that. I got to 15. If I'm looking at point guards on FanDuel today, he's $600 cheaper than Dame. I think I might still prefer Dame. He's $200 more expensive than Ben Simmons. I prefer Ben Simmons at half the ownership as well.
Really?
Yes. Look, I like Kyrie, but I'm not enamored with this spot or his price tag.
Like, I get that the matchup in terms of like the backcourt might not be great for him, but I'm honestly not worried about it, man. With the individual matchups can be overhyped. Adam and I discussed this too. Like when teams score a lot and play a lot in transition, there's really a whole, it mitigates that quite a bit. This game's got by a mile the highest over under on the slate, 236.5, which is nuts. The Pelicans are playing, of course, at a fast pace as they always do, top 10 in pace. And Brooklyn's playing, I think, at a pretty average pace, but you would only expect that to increase as the season goes on. They're playing at the 7th fastest pace. Both of them north of 105 possessions per 48. I'll take that all day long. And like I said, Kyrie Irving, the rebounding opportunities, the potential assists, all of those are up this season. And I love seeing that, especially when you're getting off as many shots as he is. In terms of transition, 17% of his opportunities are in transition. I'm okay with that as well, especially given that the Pelicans have really struggled to slow teams down in transition, which is why they've been giving up some really high point totals. I think with a 120.3 implied total, the Nets have the highest on the slate. I really just like this spot for Kyrie Irving. And if that's not enough, the only thing I'd add is, like, when you look at his minutes, he's locked in for 34 minutes in a close game, and I'm okay with that too.
So here's where I would just want to go with this. Would you rather have James Harden or Kyrie Irving tonight?
Well, of course I'd rather have James Harden.
Okay. Would you rather have Andre Drummond or Kyrie Irving tonight?
Yeah, probably Drummond, but Kyrie Irving's coming in as my number 3 here.
Okay. Ahead of Giannis.
I really like Giannis, but the way I see it is it's going to be difficult to have like a Harden, Drummond, and Giannis lineup.
Right.
Is Harden, Giannis, and Irving feasible? Like, is it doable? It actually is doable. It will look ugly, but with the amount of value that we might have, it's possible. That extra salary coming from Giannis, believe it or not, makes a huge difference. So,
for sure.
I like Irving. I'd put Giannis number 4, but if Giannis comes in, under-owned, I'll generally always put him above. Like, from a raw fantasy point perspective, of course I have Giannis above Kyrie Irving by, I think, like, that's
points. Not even close. If you told me that you had Kyrie ahead of Giannis in just raw points, we would probably need to shut the show off.
Exactly. Well, here's the thing though. In terms of projected fantasy points, I have Harden, Drummond, Giannis, Irving. I actually have Drummond ahead of Giannis, which could get a little bit sketchy, but he's just been so good. I have Irving at 52 fantasy points in this game, so I do like him.
Mine goes Harden, Giannis, Drummond, and then a big time drop off to Dame 4th.
Okay. Yeah. See, I have Irving quite a bit above him.
Okay.
I like Ben Simmons, but Irving's ceiling is insane. Ben Simmons will have those games, right? But Irving can go for 40 points, 8 rebounds, and 12 assists. Ben Simmons can do a lot in the steals and blocks department, but usually he's not going to supplement it with huge scoring totals.
Getting a ton of ownership on FanDuel, 32%. Not as much on DK at 12, but there are some guys picking up a little bit of love here. Karis LeVert around 10%. Taurean Prince, 10% on FanDuel. Jarrett Allen, 30% on FanDuel, 17 on DK. I don't agree with the Jarrett Allen ownership at all, although I see how this is a better spot for him than it is for DeAndre. I really love Taurean Prince for 4,800 on FanDuel. That is just simply a misprice. I'm going to have a ton of that dude, unless I'm missing something. He is just going to show up in basically everything of mine. Love that dude. Might just have too much salary left over, and I end up not getting to him, but he grades out really well. But I kind of like Karis LeVert, 6,500 FanDuel, 6K DK, $25 on Yahoo as well. What do you think about LeVert?
I like Prince more.
Okay.
And I think it was before last season. I had tweeted that Taurean Prince is going to be a breakout player, and it didn't transpire. It didn't come to fruition, but he has a lot of the tools. Like, the dude can knock down threes. He's shooting 44% from 3 this year, which is really solid. He's a long defender, so and is really good on the perimeter defensively. The reason I say that is because it's very easy just to keep him on the court in all situations, and I like that. And rebounding, Taurean Prince has never really shown us a ton. He's at times almost seemed allergic to rebounds. But this season, you've seen a little bit of an improvement, right? He's rebounding at a 10% clip for the first time in his entire career, and defensive rebounding has been up significantly. So I think he's a perfectly reasonable play. I don't expect him to be high usage, but this game, again, there's just so much projected scoring, and I don't see any way we don't see a ton of points in this game. Two teams that defensively, or again, more so in transition too, though, are just going to get beat up. And we're seeing a lot of this year where there's so much scoring in specific games. And the Pelicans have 114 defensive rating this season. That's the 3rd worst in the league. Brooklyn has a 108. That's a bottom 10 mark as well.
Yeah. I have a lot of interest in this net side on FanDuel. Prince is $600 cheaper than he is on DraftKings. Joe Harris is $400 cheaper than he is on DK, getting no ownership. I think that's a viable punt just because of the spot. If people are going to play 29% of Jared Allen at center, I'll probably just play a little bit of DeAndre Jordan instead. I mean, those two guys are directly linked to each other. And if one of them is going to get 6 times as much ownership, I'm going to hope Jared Allen rolls his ankle or gets in foul trouble. Like it really is that easy for the other guy to get the time. Like that's just what it is. It's really hard to separate those guys from anything, and they're sharing the full center minutes essentially.
For sure. On Yahoo, you have like Robert Covington at $20, Taurean Prince $20, PJ Tucker's $20, Brandon Clark is $20. Of those guys at $20, who would you prefer? Would it be Taurean Prince?
It'd be Clark probably.
Clark? Okay. Yeah.
I think it would be Clark. Covington, Tucker, Prince, and Clark. I would go on Yahoo. I would go Clark
and Covington.
Clark, Covington, Prince, Tucker. But
that's crazy.
I like all 4 of those guys less than minimum salary Markieff Morris.
Yeah, dude, of course. But I'm trying to see, how we feel about. I don't know. Clark's minutes though seem to be, like, do you think he gets 30 minutes here?
I think I have him in for 30 if he plays. He's also questionable, I believe. I think I have him in for 30. No Triple J today.
Yeah, and that's big. So you're probably right.
Clark's 1.2 fantasy points per minute so far this season.
Oh no, dude, he's been productive for sure. So
I have him in for 28 minutes, actually.
28. Yeah. I have 29, and I wouldn't be surprised if he plays 30, honestly. Like I really wouldn't. But I would put him first there, and then I would put Taurean Prince behind him. Again, just a product of this matchup.
Sure.
I'm not a big believer in PJ Tucker. He's actually even playing fewer minutes than he did last season, and he needed every bit of those minutes before. I don't see that transpiring much. And if it does, it's only because of the pace of play. They're leading the league in pace. Their defense has been terrible. All of that will play into it. But PJ Tucker is going to have a lot of disappearing acts this season.
100%. He barely made my Yahoo player pool. He is right above the threshold before he just doesn't show up in the pivot table anymore. So pretty low on him there. On the Pelicans side, Derek Favors potentially back. He's questionable. I've got him in for 22 minutes. He is not in play at all. Drew Holiday, 8,300 on FanDuel and DraftKings. He's 15-2 on Fantasy Draft, $35 on Yahoo. I would say that I like him most on FanDuel at that price. There's no ownership really going to anything from the Pels. So does anything stand out to you other than maybe Drew or Brandon Ingram? Ingram's price.
The other day, if you listen to the Deeper Dive, you listen to Live Before Lock, I'm sure you guys discussed it on the strategy show. I think you did. Like if you weren't interested in Jahlil Okafor, you were crazy. Yeah. He played 12 minutes in a game where he got in foul trouble in the first and then second quarter, and then didn't return in a blowout after 5 minutes in the third. He went on to play 34 minutes and then 29 minutes. If Favors is out, how many minutes are you giving Okafor?
I don't know, probably 28.
Because he's 3,100 on DraftKings. Explain that to me, Josh.
That's crazy.
He's 100 off the minimum.
It's craziness. It's crazy.
If
Favors is out, Jahlil Okafor is in 80% of your lineups.
Right, exactly. And that's why when we talk about like Tony Snell, I think if Favors plays, maybe you can make that argument. But there are certain cheap guys that Okafor is going to take so much prospective value off the table because there's just no need to get there.
100%. Yeah, if Derek Favors happens to not be in this game, you are now soaking up a lot of projected exposure on DraftKings. On FanDuel, he's 5K. He's 5K. He's still a great play there if Favors ends up being out, but DraftKings is just, it's a free square. Especially against Brooklyn, where you know that DeAndre Jordan's going to play like 20 minutes. So right out of the gate, Okafor is going to play those 20 minutes.
And shot blocking and rebounding opportunities are going to be abundant. Yeah. Dude's averaging 1.23 fantasy points per minute this season. That's above his career average, but take his career average. He's a 1.03 fantasy point per minute guy.
I was going to say, just make it one.
Right.
28 points at 3,100 is the craziest value on the slate.
Exactly. Like I'd be projecting him. And I haven't done it yet because right now I have Favors in. I'm almost certain I would have Okafor projected for north of 30. Reason for that, Very simple. The pace of this game is going to be the fastest in the league. The total is the highest. And I'm going to put him around 28, 29 minutes, barring foul trouble or injury, of course. How do you not project him for 30 plus fantasy points in this game?
In a way, I kind of hope Favors just plays so I don't have to worry about it.
I guess. I mean,
I think there's enough value out there right now that I don't need more.
Okay.
But, it's always fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, it's top value, but it's also going to be like mega chalk. You just have to eat it.
Yeah. I mean, he goes to 50+% at a moment's notice. The moment that Favors if he gets ruled out, it's just staggering ownership because he's 3,100 is just the wrong price.
Yep.
3,100 is the price you give him if Derek Favors is in.
Right. Exactly. DraftKings is usually better about that, honestly.
Yeah, I don't have any other interest in anything really from the Pels. Like, I'll probably have a couple shares of Lonzo or something, or maybe Josh Hart, but Drew would be the only guy that I'm going to get to. And on that dummy crunch that I ran earlier, I got to 22%. He was my fourth most exposed shooting guard. He's the only guy I care about. And that's mostly just a price play.
Yeah. Okafor would just be the far and away number one here.
Yeah.
Brandon Ingram takes a significant hit with Drew Holiday back. And I guess he's fine, right?
I guess.
In terms of not being injured.
That's the best I could tell.
They said he wasn't on the injury report.
Yeah, so. I have no. His name is not on there. Zylan Cheatham is on the injury report as the two-way guy. I don't know what that thing is. Favors questionable. Darius Miller out. Zion out. Those are the only guys listed.
It's probably worth keeping an eye on it, you know, just in case something pops up, because he only played 13 minutes last game. But no, I'm pretty much with you here. A lot from Brooklyn. Okafor would be a phenomenal play. And then if you were sprinkling in guys like Lonzo or Drew, I don't think it's crazy, but that price on Lonzo, at least on DraftKings, is getting a bit prohibitive, north of 7K.
It really is. Mike in YouTube chat. Only thing I don't like about on DK is Okafor would have to go in the utility spot with Drummond at center, but I guess you have to be okay with that. Then you can worry a little bit less about getting to Drummond and have Harden and Giannis or something.
Yeah.
You're freeing up a lot of money.
Like if you were to go to Giannis over Drummond, it's really not a terrible trade-off. Sometimes we get stuck in this way of thinking where it's like, I need to have this player, but like Drummond, if you had the money for Giannis, but you went with Drummond, or you could make it work to get to Giannis and you went with Drummond, fine. But you're never going to look at any time Giannis is playing in any matchup and be like, oh man, now I have to go to Giannis over Drummond to get another center in. That should never cross your mind.
No, you could put Ja at center, Giannis in at whatever position, and then have all of that additional extra money from not paying Drummond for whatever you want to put at utility.
Right.
Not an indictment on Drummond, just saying, like, don't worry too much about that.
It's not an indictment on Drummond. It's just, praise for Giannis Antetokounmpo. Yeah. That's all.
All right, let's hit one more. Memphis Grizzlies, Houston Rockets. 112.75 implied total for the Grizz, 119 for the Rockets. Grizzlies going to be without Jaren Jackson Jr. today. He is no, he's not. He is doubtful today. Brandon Clark, probable. No Grayson Allen. Obviously, no Andre Iguodala. No Yuta Watanabe. He's on a two-way, but I just like saying his name. There's a lot of value in Memphis here. Let's talk Jonas. 5,700 on FanDuel, 6K on DK, 12.3 on Fantasy Draft, and $20 on Yahoo. I love him today, especially on FanDuel at 5,700. If he gets 24 minutes, I want to be there. It's another spot where I won't have him at all, really, if Okafor ends up being the starter and Favors is out. How do you like Jonas? I know he's your boy.
Oh, he is. Valanciunas is truly one of the best fantasy producers in the game. On a per minute basis, he really is.
Yeah.
At that price tag, how often do I get to him is another question. Do I think he's capable of putting up big numbers? Yeah, I mean, he's 5,700 on FanDuel. Of course, then you can get into that conversation of, do I have to play this guy at center? The opportunity cost on FanDuel is going to be a lot higher. If Favors is out, I guess Drummond at 5K though, it makes it so you don't need to get there. But there are some good options, of course, including Drummond, and you can only play one of them. But man, with Joe Val, he's so good, and he doesn't need a ton of playing time. He's $20 on Yahoo, which feels really friendly.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Do you get to him? You would get to him if he plays 24, right? You just said that.
Yes. He's my most exposed center on that crunch. I got 42% of Valanciunas.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, again, I haven't projected pretty high too.
34 and a half fantasy points on FanDuel right now in 24 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, really at this rate, the Rockets defense can only get better. Seriously, it's been that brutal.
Yeah.
But it's 29th in the league, better than only the Warriors. The Rockets are leading the league in pace, 109 possessions per 48. That's a lot, Josh, in case anyone was wondering.
It is.
And per game, they are allowing 127 points per game. That's crazy, dude. And 127 points per 48. That's nuts.
Here's an interesting stat for you. Rockets, 102.5 points per play in the half court. Second worst in the league behind Golden State. Just going to go out on a limb and let you guys know, I don't expect Jonas Valanciunas to be pushing the ball heavily in transition. He's going to get those points from the half court sets. Seems to be working pretty well against Houston.
Yeah. I think everything's working well against Houston.
It is. So I love Jonas today, particularly on FanDuel because of that price tag. Gotta love Brandon Clark, 5,600 on FanDuel, 4,800 on DK. 18% owned on FanDuel, 5% on DraftKings at 4,800. That number is absolutely coming up once we know that he is in. Yeah.
It's got to. I mean, number one, do I expect him to continue with this type of per minute production? It's still too early to say. But if you're projecting him for around 30 minutes, again, against the Houston Rockets in a really not a pace up spot, but a fast paced game. Of course, Memphis is playing at a fast pace this season as well. They're also allowing 117 points per 48 minutes. And defensively, this is nothing like the old Memphis Grizzlies team whatsoever. They're a bottom 10 defense playing at the third fastest pace. I was actually a little bit surprised to see that this game didn't have the highest total, but I guess it makes sense because there's going to be a lot of bad players on the floor, and it's still the second highest at 232. There's so much to like here, man.
Yeah, let's not forget that Kyle Anderson, Dylan Brooks, and Solomon Hill, and Marco Guduric and Bruno Caboclo are going to play like 90 minutes for the Grizzlies today.
Yep. Yeah. It's going to miss a heck of a lot of shots, but I like Clark. I'm with you. Valanciunas is always in play. I wish he was playing more minutes, but he's not that expensive, I guess. And then outside of that, are you getting on to anyone heavily from the Grizzlies outside of Joe Val and Clark?
Unfortunately, yes. A little bit of Jay Crowder.
Okay.
30 minutes, 4,800 on FanDuel, same price on DraftKings. So to me, he's just a little bit more interesting there. I think $4,400 Dylan Brooks on FanDuel is viable if you need to punt at the shooting guard spot. I think that's reasonable. You could probably talk me into like a share or two of slow-mo, but I hate those days.
I can't stand that guy.
Same.
Not personally. I'm sure he's fine.
Yeah, I'm sure he's delightful.
Yeah.
But no, Valanciunas is my key. Brandon Clark second. Jay Crowder on FanDuel slightly third. Very little interest in Ja Morant.
On DraftKings, I currently have Brandon Clark as top 4 value play on the entire slate, just to kind of put that in perspective.
He is 7th for me on the whole slate.
Okay, but I'm assuming it's going to be pretty close because a lot of those guys are razor thin. Like my 4 through 6 or 7 are all pretty tight there for me.
Gorgeous Dong, Markieff Morris, Josh Richardson, Bruce Brown, Luke Kennard, Langston Galloway, Brandon Clark.
Okay. I'm including Okafor right now. So.
That's fair.
But Gorgie Jang is going to be up there as 1 or 2, probably number 2 behind Jahlil Okafor.
You ready to hear about the chalk play of the day?
Let's hear it, baby.
James Harden is 53% owned on FanDuel and 60% owned on DraftKings.
As he should be.
Yep. Yeah. I don't know what else to say. He's the best play on the slate of anybody you're paying up for. It's not close. There is no second answer.
No, what? I mean, what argument are you? And I hate when people make the, excuse me, the argument of like, dude, if Harden gets hurt, I'm going to fade him because if he gets hurt, I'm going to smash. What are you talking about?
Good luck to
Seriously.
You, sir.
You're basing it on him hopefully getting hurt. It's insane. Or, excuse me, damn. All right, we're good.
You good,
we're
man?
Good. Man, I think I've been screaming a lot. The Sixers won in a 21-point comeback. The Eagles won in a garbage game, but they still won. No, that's not it. I smoke cigarettes. The James Harden this season, if you want to look at what he's done with Russell Westbrook off the floor, because it's not just that this is a good spot against a bad Memphis team that plays at a fast pace. This is now the only who else is gonna do anything, Josh? Daniel House, Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon's been dreadful. I think you can make an argument for him today.
Yes.
I hate it, but you can make an argument for Eric Gordon with Russell Westbrook off the floor. But I mean, just think of how the rest of this team looks. James Harden has a 50% usage rate in 80 minutes with Westbrook off the floor this year. 50% usage rate.
I have him in for 43 today.
Right. I mean, yeah, sure. 53% assists. Rebounding hasn't been great, but 1 3/4 fantasy points per minute. He could go out there and produce 2.1 fantasy points per minute today. And I would say, oh, okay. It makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really have any like hot take. He's my favorite player of the day. It's not close. I will do whatever I can to get as much James Harden as possible. On my original crunch, he was my most exposed shooting guard. He's the guy to pay up for.
I would agree with you. I won't take it any further than that.
Eric Gordon, I think, is a very viable punt option. 3,900 on FanDuel, 4K on DraftKings, 7,500 on Fantasy Draft. Don't play him for $17 on Yahoo. He's fine. But that's really all that I have there. It's not. I don't have like a rousing take for him. He's a guy that I will punt with.
Eric Gordon's played 67 minutes with James Harden on the floor and Russell Westbrook off the floor. He's averaging 0.53 fantasy points per minute across those minutes, 16% usage. Just throwing it out there that Eric Gordon, even with Westbrook off the floor, has been absolutely dreadful.
Yeah.
And the only thing I can think of is, maybe we see a situation here where they look to get him more minutes with Harden off the floor, and maybe he they're not going to bring him off the bench, but it honestly would make sense for D'Antoni to bring him off the bench to try and get some form of a shooting presence and maybe get him back on track. But he hasn't played a single minute with Harden and Westbrook off the floor this year. He's been on the court with at least one of them the whole time.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him play a large amount of the non-Harden minutes. Like, I've got Harden in for not playing 12 minutes. I would expect Eric Gordon to be out there for most of those.
I agree.
Or the game's just like, not close either way. Talk to me. This is a guy that I don't really have any interest for on FanDuel. Talk to me about $6,200 Clint Capella at 7% ownership on DK. Center's getting busy.
It's reasonable, and having Russell Westbrook off the floor is definitely going to help those rebounding totals, right?
Yeah.
I mean, really, that's something that's pretty important here. Russell Westbrook, up until I think a game ago, probably now is after the last couple games, leading the team in rebound opportunities. So pretty significant having someone like him off the court that hogs so many of those boards. Clint Capella's price is down. I know he got benched the other day. His minutes have been down. All of that's concerning. But in tournaments, I still think he's viable because I wouldn't be at all surprised to see him get up to 30 plus minutes today with Westbrook off the floor. He's going to need to start rebounding though. I will say this, not a ton of minutes with Westbrook off the court, but he does have a 23.9% rebound rate, total rebound rate with Russell Westbrook on the bench. 23.9% total rebounding is a very, very solid number.
Yeah.
With Westbrook on the floor, it's loading, but I'm assuming it is a lot less. Here we go. With what 13.5%. Dude.
You assumed correctly.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's lower than Westbrook's.
I don't have any need for Capella at 7,800 on FanDuel, but 6,200 on DraftKings is a much different price.
For sure.
That's really it for me from Houston. This is not a team that I'm trying to load up on.
Nope.
Outside of one James Harden. Alrighty. Perfect time for everybody to take a little break. Please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps you guys, honestly. We have every show that we are doing is posted to our YouTube channel before the sun comes up. So you'll know the whole schedule and when everything starts each day. If you subscribe, you'll get notifications when we go live. We've got a bunch of content coming up today. Coming up immediately after this, Lofty Goes Nowhere. Does the Monday morning quarterback show with Manny, taking a look back at everything that took place yesterday. Jake will have the strategy show for hockey at 4 p.m. Alex will be behind the paywall doing his game plan stream for the subscribers. Use the promo code NBA Strategy if you want to sign up. Deeper dive today. Lofty back again. Busy man on these Mondays. I hope he makes it after all of that cigarette cough. But Lofty and Adam will be back at 5, and then myself and Chris Spags closing it out from 6 to 7. One big stream tonight. Come check it all out. Oh, boy.
Yeah, we need to speed the pace up a little bit.
3 games to go, 20 minutes, 21 minutes. That's 7 minutes a game. I don't have a ton to talk about like, you really want to dig into the Warriors, man? Because I don't.
No, you're right. And honestly, the first 3 games we touched on had a lot.
Yeah. Well, let's go to the next game then. Minnesota Timberwolves, Milwaukee Bucks. 111.75 implied total for the Wolves. 117.25 for the Bucks. Minnesota, obviously, without Karl Anthony Towns after the brouhaha with Joel Embiid. So that means it's the Andrew Wiggins show. That's not really that appealing to me. Wiggins, Teague, Covington, all getting some ownership. Teague and Covington in particular getting a bunch of it on FanDuel, 6,200 and 5,700 respectively. But I want to talk about my favorite play of this game and potentially of the day, barring Jahlil Okafor. I want some gorgeous dong. 4K on FanDuel, 3,300 on DK. The minimum, 6,100 on Fantasy Draft, $12 on Yahoo. I've got him in for 22 minutes, and he is still coming out as a fantastic option. What do you want to do with Gorgie Jang?
So you only like dong if it's pretty to look at, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably a common thing.
Okay. Dude, Gorgie Jang to get away from, again, the pricing here is outrageous.
Yeah.
Are you not wondering how this happens? I mean, they've usually been very good about this.
I'm very surprised that he is still $3,300 on DraftKings because we knew that Cat wasn't playing for
That's
days.
What I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's very surprising to me.
58% ownership on Gorgeous Dong right now, by the way, on DraftKings.
What's the ownership?
58.
Oh, that's pretty high.
Be anxious to see where that goes in relationship to Okafor.
If Favors is out, yeah. I was gonna mention the same thing. Well, if you look at Gorgie Jang's game, if you look at last time out, he got the start, right?
Yeah.
And then played, let's see, 5.5 minutes in the first quarter. In the second quarter, Jang played 9:18. So that's 14. That's about 15 minutes. And then in the third quarter, this game started getting out of hand. The Timberwolves took a 34-point lead with about 4 minutes remaining. Jang played 5.5 in the in the third quarter, which is right in line with that rotation we saw in the first quarter to start the first half. We saw it in the second half. But unlike the 9:18 he played in the second quarter, Jang only played 3.5 minutes. And that, of course, is because of the blowout. Yeah. Neither Wiggins, Teague, Covington played any more than 3 or 4 minutes in that final quarter. Only Wiggins stayed out there for a few minutes. So I'm projecting Gorgui Dieng for 28 minutes and not 24 minutes.
I have him in for 22. I stopped there because if I kept giving him minutes, things were going to get problematic. I think they could just as easily go to more minutes for Noah Vonleh. I think that fits a little bit better against the Bucks. They could just as easily give an extra rotation or two to Jordan Bell. They have more options now than they normally did if Cat had to miss a game. Now, prior to this year, Cat missed one game in his entire career. So it's not as if they were trying to fill those minutes all that often. But I think I don't know what else to do with him. He's really good on a per minute basis.
Sure. The reason though, and maybe 28's high, I'd say give me 26. If I look at his first half rotation though, it was 5.5 minutes and it was 9:18. So that right there is 15 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you prorated that out and had this game close enough in the second half, and of course, here's the thing, he was having a very good game. So, it's very possible that he was out there because he was having a good game, but he's already a good per minute guy. And then he played the same rotation in the third quarter that he did in the first quarter, almost to a T, 3-second difference there. And then he returned with, let's see here. He returned with, he returned at the exact same time in that fourth quarter, but only played a few minutes because they were up by 34 points. So he was actually in line to play 30 minutes. Will that happen? I don't know. Maybe not, but he was poised to play 30 minutes if that game was close. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. In these situations, I tend to give the most pessimistic look at minutes that I can when I know that something is about to break. And
it actually wouldn't matter if I gave him 24 or 28. He's still going to be my top value play.
Right. So. That's my problem. I have him in for 22 and I can't stop him from coming up. And on DraftKings, he would be in everything. So until I have to make that change, I won't bump him up at all. And we could just see news that it's one of those other guys. They give Noah Vonleh a shot. They give Jordan Bell a shot. I think Jordan Bell will get roasted in this spot, but that's neither here nor there. I can't. He's really difficult to avoid as of right now. Okafor will make that a lot easier as we get forward. Do you want to do anything with Teague or Covington? Both have better prices on FanDuel.
This season, and the team's changed a lot, so I actually didn't go back to last year, but per minute production with Karl Anthony Towns off the floor this year, Teague is at 1.49. If you remember last year too, Teague's production with Towns off the floor was insane. It's a shame because we don't have a lot to go off of this season. But even if you bring it back to last year, I'm sure you remember Teague, his assist opportunities went up a lot just because Karl Anthony Towns has the ball in his hands so frequently. Take somebody that commands the ball so much like Towns does off of the court. And, your point guard who, he's not Ben Simmons. He's not Kyrie Irving, but he's also not Ish Smith, is going to start seeing a lot of opportunities. And I think, now you have, of course, no Derrick Rose.
No.
You have no Jimmy Butler. I'm sure I'm missing some other guys, but you get the point here. The usage.
You're really not, actually.
What's up?
You're not missing anybody.
No, it's not. Right? Like, I don't think I am. Maybe Taj Gibson.
Yeah, you're not missing that.
Yeah, I don't think I am. The per minute production last season for Jeff Teague with Butler, Rose, and Towns off the floor was 1.26, Josh. Ooh. Very, very solid number there. 27% usage, 43% assist rate. Those are very, very, very appealing numbers for Jeff Teague, who is 6K flat on DraftKings. Long story short, it's a tough matchup, but I think Teague is very viable with Towns off the floor.
There you go. 6,200 on FanDuel, too. Even better there.
Sure.
I've got some interest in Covington as well, just because of what this opens up. 5,700 at a position that's generally tough to fill. I'll have some shares of Wiggins, Teague, and Covington. I think you have to. That's evidenced by the ownership. I'm not wildly excited about any of those guys, but Gorgui Dieng is the dude for me.
Yeah, I'm with you, man.
Let's talk.
I do like Teague though a lot.
Okay. Let's just hit a quick sum on Giannis. 12K FanDuel, 11.3 DraftKings, $20,000 on Fantasy Draft, 54 on Yahoo. I mean, you guys know what you're getting with Giannis. He's the most expensive player on DK by quite a bit. He's the most expensive player on FanDuel. I got a decent amount with all the value that's out there. You're going to have him no matter what.
Yeah, I got 16%.
Yeah. I don't love the price. 30. If he's 30% owned on FanDuel and DK, I probably end up with less, but I would expect to end up with less right now. However, there might just be that much value out there that you don't have to.
Right. And on FanDuel, you have to play 2 small forwards, and small forward is not very pretty on this slate. Like if you want to go with Matisse Thybulle at 4,600, Taurean Prince at 4,800, you already mentioned that. That's a very good price. Markieff Morris as well.
Kennard, Prince,
Kennard,
Jay Crowder. That's crazy.
There's value, but the high-end options, there's not much. Tobias Harris would be one of them.
Yeah.
He's just been phenomenal with Embiid off the floor. But outside of that, you're not getting much in the top.
No. See, that's why I don't think that I'm going to get as much Giannis as I would expect unless there's just that much money out there. Because I think that I'm going to have Markieff Morris in like 80% of my lineups. And that doesn't leave me a lot of other places to put small forwards. And I still haven't talked about, like, I'm still going to get a lot of Kennard, Prince, Crowder, Eric Gordon. I mean, I'm like way higher on Joe Harris than anybody else, and he has no ownership whatsoever. The problem is, like, there's only so many places to spend it today. Harden, I'm going to end up with 800% of, and then you almost have to pay up at point guard. So I think that Lillard and Irving and Ben Simmons just naturally rise. There's just a lot of value at small forward today.
I got a little bit of Middleton on DraftKings, 16% Giannis, and that's it. So this is not a team that I'm very interested in today.
No, you could talk me into a little bit of Eric Bledsoe, but he has not been great. 6,300 on FanDuel, though, I think is a perfectly reasonable mid-tier option.
Okay. I'm all right with it.
Yeah. Phoenix Suns, Philadelphia 76ers, Sixers 2-point favorites in Phoenix. No DeAndre Ayton. No Joel Embiid. I'll start on the Phoenix side. A little bit of ownership coming on the FanDuel guys of Booker, Rubio, Oubre, Kaminsky. Only Booker getting that sort of love on DK. 8,500 on FanDuel, 79 on DraftKings. How do you feel about anything from Phoenix here? I like those first 4 guys, and I'll have some. None of those guys are my favorite guy at any position.
Dude, the Sixers, you would think that, first of all, their defensive rating is below 100,
They're
which
terrifying.
is very good. What's up?
They're terrifying on D.
They are. And I think people are going to look at that Portland game and say, yeah, but Portland destroyed them. Portland shot 55% from 3, and they were literally hitting every shot, contested or not, from 10 feet past the arc. There were some defensive I don't even want to say breakdowns. There were some spots where Portland's ball movement was fantastic, and they just found ways to get open. But I still think the Sixers have to be better at defending the 3, Josh. I just don't see how they won't be. Like, right now they're allowing the 5th highest 3-point percentage. It's so difficult for me to believe that continues with the length that they have on this team. The only thing is, are they not quick enough to close out? That I don't believe that either. Josh Richardson, Matisse Thybulle, there's so many of these guys that can get out to the perimeter and wreak havoc. So I expect some serious positive regression. Al Horford's an amazing defender. Yeah. Ben Simmons is a great defender. Like you said, it's a terrifying defense. And maybe Portland dropped 128 points in regulation on them. Teams have put up some numbers, but I still probably err on the side of caution here, where there are other games that I really, really like. I just don't see myself getting to a ton here.
No.
But I have a little bit of Devin Booker. I got 8% Devin Booker with my initial crunch, like 3% Oubre on DraftKings, and then trace amounts of like a Kaminsky or a Sarge. I actually 1%. So that's nothing.
Okay.
That's really it. I don't have a lot for Phoenix.
I like Kaminsky for 4,200 on DraftKings, but he's not getting any ownership. 8,500 on Fantasy Draft as well. I think that's a reasonable value spot, But
yeah,
there's not a lot of value coming out, or there's not a lot of volume coming out of Phoenix for me. I think it'll be easy to get to as much Devin Booker as you would want. There's clearly enough money out there to pay for him, but I prefer the Philly side. In particular, Josh Richardson is 4,600 on DraftKings.
He's been pretty bad, yeah.
I assume you like him at 4,600 though, right? No?
Yeah, I don't have an issue with Jay Rich.
Okay.
I mean,
rank the 4 Philly guys.
Okay, so let's throw this out there first. Al Horford has looked so aggressive with the ball in his hands on offense. I haven't seen this from Horford since like the older Atlanta days. He's always been very good, but I'm very surprised that he's been this aggressive. He attempted 24 shots in regulation last time out. Amazing. But I'll talk about Josh Richardson first. I'm with you here. Despite what has not been a great performance, I still performance thus far on the season. Josh Richardson's minutes are very stable, very, very stable. He had foul trouble in one game. Outside of that, he's pretty much playing 33 to upwards of 37 minutes in regulation. And he's going to give you probably 30 plus fantasy points on most of these nights, especially against the Phoenix Suns. Only 0.85 fantasy points per minute in almost 100 minutes with Embiid off the floor this year, but a 24% usage rate. So you take that one to the bank. How about this though? Al Horford leads the team in usage outside of Shake Milton, who's played 22 minutes with Embiid off the floor. 25% usage rate for Al Horford, 15% total rebound rate. Assist rate is at 21%, pretty solid for a center, and 1.31 fantasy points per minute. It's been a heck of a 3 games or however many games Embiid missed with Al Horford in there. And God, he's a perfect guy to fill in at that 5 spot and continues to produce.
Yeah, Horford is my favorite Sixer that isn't Josh Richardson on DK. I think that price is just broken for not having him be there. But Horford's my guy. I would say Tobias Harris is second, Richardson third, but I expect to get more Simmons because there's so much money left.
Yeah.
And because the pay down options, at least for me at point guard on FanDuel, don't really exist. Austin Rivers, Tyus Jones, Napier, George Hill, like none of that is appealing. So I think that I just naturally get a lot more Ben Simmons at 9,500. Even though he's kind of just like an average play across the board, I can easily spend up at point guard because all of the value is somewhere else.
I got a lot of Simmons. Matter of fact, right now I have more Simmons than Kyrie Irving. I don't know if that holds.
There we go. Now we're getting there.
We'll see if it holds. I don't know. I still like Irving quite a bit. The game has a 237 total.
Yeah.
But I Simmons, a lot of Richardson, of course. Actually got 10% Thibault. And then I have a little Harris and a good amount of Horford because I think Horford at sub 7K on DraftKings is still a bargain.
Yep. Actually, I didn't even think about it. I can export my crunch and see like what I actually would have if I had to lock this slate in right now. I know we don't have a ton of time. We've got one more game to go. We certainly used every bit of this hour and a half.
Always do.
Yeah.
Always do, baby.
All right. Just summing it up really quickly. FanDuel side. Most exposed player, James Harden, 76%. This would be in my 150. Markieff Morris, 74. Brandon Clark, 70. Al Horford, 63. Drummond, 27. I got to 24% Ben Simmons, but my point guard exposure is really flat. I don't have any individuals breaking free from the pack.
Okay. Point guard, I have, Harden on DraftKings is point guard eligible. So we won't even get into that because so many guys like Richardson, Luke Kennard, Ben Simmons, Irving, all of these guys are point guard eligible. So that, skews things a lot.
Yeah. All righty. Final game.
Let's hit it.
Golden State Warriors are the Santa Cruz, whatever the hell they're called. I don't know. Warriors, maybe? I don't know. This is not a real basketball team. Blazers are 10-point favorites in Golden State. D'Angelo Russell is questionable. Dollars to don't. I have him in. I have no idea why he would play unless he's 100% healthy. This team is real bad. Damian Lee getting some ownership on DraftKings, Eric Pascal getting ownership on DK and FanDuel, Amari Spellman getting owned on FanDuel, Jordan Poole getting owned on FanDuel. Is there anybody you want to prioritize? I don't even want D'Angelo Russell if I know that he's playing. He grades out really poorly, too expensive as far as I'm concerned. I don't know how to sift through the Warriors.
Dude, it's not fun.
I was trying to plot their rotation. I don't naturally know what position some of these dudes play right now. I was just like, fuck, what is he? I'll give him 8 minutes at power forward, and then I pull up another depth chart, and it's like, shit, he's a shooting guard.
Dude, absolutely. Yeah, it's really quite insane, actually. I don't game flow, and we'll get into this in the deeper dive, live before lock and all of that, of course. But there's a lot that we can look at here and try and glean something from it. But there's also a very good chance, Josh, that Steve Kerr is just gonna do what needs to be done each game. And Jordan Poole goes and plays 30 minutes the other night and plays 25 because Alec Burks plays 32 off the bench, or Damian Lee gets the minutes and ends up taking them away from Poole.
Kai Bowman or Bowman.
Yeah, right. And Glenn Robinson III doesn't play 36 minutes again. Neither does Kai Bowman play 39 minutes. Like, I really don't. I don't know how to get here confidently, and I don't right now. I have a little bit of Russell.
Yeah, I got zero.
You got zero?
Yeah.
Okay, I got like 4%, but I don't know where else do you, I'm going to ask you, where else do you get to for Golden State?
I don't think that you get to anywhere with any sort of real confidence. Maybe Damian Lee, that he's the guy that grades out best for me, but every other spot where there's value today, it's not up in the air.
Right.
Whereas
exactly.
I don't know who to pick out of these dudes, especially if Russell is out. Like, that value will exist, and I know that guys will show up, but it's just to the whims of the rest of it, because you can tell me that Amari Spellman plays 18 minutes or 28 minutes. I have no idea, and I don't know really how to plot that out. This is so far off the realm of like normal. They are a team that has basically never played the guys that are on the team. They are all they have a team full of like the 10th best guy on everybody's team.
Bowman played 39 minutes last game, right? So that's relevant. Their starting lineup literally doesn't have a single player in it right now from last season. Talking about guys that are injured included.
Yeah.
Bowman at point guard played 39 minutes. If D'Angelo Russell remains out, then I would expect big minutes from him again.
Yes.
Not a huge usage rate. I think he's fine at 4,300 on DraftKings, but am I in love with him? I'm not. Am I in love with Alec Burks? No, I'm not. So all of these guys it's kind of like Jordan Poole opportunities here. I don't know above 4K if I want to get there for a guy that really hasn't been producing with those minutes to begin with. Damian Lee's been fine, but if all of these guys probably outside of Bowman play around like 26 to 28 minutes, and it's not nice at all.
I like a little bit of CJ and a little bit of Dame, more CJ than Dame on FanDuel. I don't have a ton of either one of these guys. I got like 18% CJ. Everything else was relatively low. Do you want to sum up the Blazers and then we can get out of here and Manny can go hang out for an hour?
Yeah, it's CJ McCollum's attempting, around 20 field goals per game. Actually, I think he's attempting more than 20 field goals per game, which, I'm okay with that. Yeah, 20.2. He has done nothing really from a peripheral standpoint. Terry Stotts doesn't stagger him and Lillard as much as he used to, so it takes away that facilitating upside. But I hear you at 6,100 on DraftKings. Just knowing that he's shooting that much, I'm perfectly fine with it. Aside from that, I like Simmons and Irving above Damian Lillard, who is perfectly fine in this spot. No issues whatsoever. He's been outstanding, but I'd rank him third behind those guys.
I like Dame a lot on that DraftKings price at 8,900. I have him ahead of Beal, ahead of Irving, ahead of Russell if he plays. He's one of my favorite guys on DraftKings. Okay. FanDuel at 10-3, not so much.
I wish Whiteside was playing 30 minutes. I'd have him everywhere.
Yeah.
But it's hard to go $6,400 Whiteside despite his upside. And by the way, I don't know if he's playing. He is expected to play.
Yeah.
But would I rather go Whiteside or Al Horford at $500 extra, knowing his involvement and the 34 minutes he's probably going to play?
Yeah, it's tricky. Guys, we're running long, but that is par for the course with Lofty and I. Shout out to the 891 people that showed up at this time of the day to hang out with us.
Love it.
Amazing.
Appreciate you.
Love you guys. Thank you guys for joining us. Hit the like button. Thank you so much to Yahoo Sports. Check out Lofty and Manny coming up immediately after this. Don't leave our channel. Stay here. I'm going to drop the link in chat for everybody right now, just in case. They're going to come up, talk a little bit about Week 9 in the NFL and how you can apply lessons from this past week for Week 10. Lofty will also be on the Deeper Dive at 5 with Adam. That's all we've got, guys. Lofty, anything else?
No, that's it, man. Stick around. We got lineup study coming up. I think you'll appreciate this stuff. We dive into everything, the big winners, the good, the bad, and you name it. Manny and I will be coming up in a few minutes. I'm going to step away for a few, and then we'll be back. Awesemo, or youtube.com/awesemo. Wait for that NFL strategy show to drop.
There it is, guys. Thanks for joining us. Good luck tonight. We'll talk to you later. Bye.